Hello gamers, Trav again with Handheld Horizon. Today we are talking about handheld screen sizes and which one I think is the best. We are going to go from small to very large and kind of talk about use cases and pros and cons for each of them. Now I obviously do not have every single device, but I do have quite a few to kind of span the range of really small to really big. Let's go ahead and get started with the Game Boy Advance Micro. I love the novelty of a device like the GBA Micro, which is why I bought this baby from GameStop back in the day. I do really enjoy the pocketability of it, but even my LASIK enhanced eyes can't really recommend this for daily play. Funny enough, I did play the Micro like crazy back in the early 2010s, including multiple playthroughs of Pokemon Leaf Green and Emerald, and just had a great time. But 2 inches is honestly a little bit too small for daily use, in my opinion. Next up, we have the Mini sitting at a comfy 2.8 inches. So this is where I really start to think about perspective. I generally do not use the Mini on the daily, and the reason why is because I think it's a little bit too small in both screen size and feeling in the hand. But when you compare this to the Micro, I gain a whole new perspective. All of a sudden, I think the extra 0.8 inches is absolutely huge. This is where we take a step from novelty to actual practical daily use. I do think that if you are a gamer with smaller hands, the Mini is totally practical and fun to play for hours on end, but for my large hands, the Mini is just a bit too small. Fun fact, I played the amazing Pokemon ROM hack Radical Red on this guy, and it was great. I spent about 40 hours in-game and was only slightly annoyed with the screen size. By the way, if you are a Pokemon fan and haven't played Radical Red, do yourself a favor and go play it now. Low-key, one of the best Pokemon games ever made. Anyways, I digress. Let's talk about the next one up, the original Game Boy Advance SP. This is a great time to talk about pixel density. On the original GBA SP, the individual pixels are visible when holding the device at a normal-ish distance from your eyes. Some people love this, and seeing those blocky pixels is very nostalgic for me. It takes me back to the summer of 2003, where I played Pokemon Sapphire nearly 24/7. In my opinion, while playing retro games, seeing pixels is fun and honestly feels a little bit more authentic. However, in 2024, most gamers nearly vomit when a pixel is noticeable. In that same vein, we have the DS Lite, which comes in at 3.1 inches for both the top and bottom screens. Not a ton of difference here. We have a slightly higher resolution and PPI, but overall it has a very similar feel to the Game Boy Advance SP. Funny side note here, when the DS originally came out in 2004, I was convinced that the DS had super high-end HD graphics, even though, as it turns out, it was only a slight upgrade to the SP screen. Even so, the DS is great and honestly a top 3 handheld all-time for me, and probably has the most hours played of any handheld that I own. Alright, now we move into the modern age with the 3.5 inch screens. Here we have found the sweet spot for most retro emulation. There is a reason most of these manufacturers have settled on the 3.5 inch screen. It's just a great balance between size and portability. Here we are looking at 3 different form factors. We have the clamshell with the RG35XX SP, the horizontal layout with the RG35XXH, and the traditional Game Boy style with the Mini Plus. I can say with confidence these are my 3 favorite devices for retro emulation, and also happen to be extremely popular in the retro handheld scene. I do plan to make a video soon comparing these 3 devices and which one I deem to be the best of the best. These devices will fit in your pocket, very similar to most modern smartphones, which makes these some of the most easily accessible devices on the market. Alright, big jump here, we are going to the Retroid Pocket. This one is specifically the 3 Plus version, sitting at a 4.7 inch screen size. We are getting dangerously close to the "this will only fit in cargo shorts" zone, a zone in which once you visit you can never go back. If you are walking around with the Retroid Pocket 3 Plus in your pocket, you obviously have given up on being a cool guy and have officially accepted the nerd life. Personally, I took the leap about 5 years ago. But anyway, this is an interesting size. Great for more modern widescreen type games with a 16:9 aspect ratio. This device in particular is great for PSP and Vita and a little bit of Android games. But if I'm being honest, I have never loved this screen size, as it is just kind of in a no man's land of too big for a normal pocket and too small to be a truly immersive experience. Moving on to the Nintendo Switch, which sits at 6.2 inches. This is where we really start to move away from the pocket zone and more into backpack land. Take me back to 2017 when the original Nintendo Switch was released, and I remember thinking, wow, that is big for a portable console. My naive self was only beginning to understand the meaning of beefy. If I'm being honest, I have moved mostly away from the Nintendo Switch in favor of a bigger, more powerful machine that we will talk about later on. But for about 5 years there, the Switch is my true handheld companion. I took this thing everywhere and absolutely loved it. In 2017, the 6.2-inch screen was huge. I believe that every gamer has a couple moments in their life where they really truly were blown away by a gaming experience, and one of those defining moments for me was playing Zelda Breath of the Wild for the first time on an airplane. I was completely blown away that I was having this sort of gaming experience on the go. Now, talking about perspective again, the 6.2-inch screen does seem a bit small nowadays, but if I'm being honest, this is perfectly fine in terms of a fun, immersive experience on the go. And compare this to the 7-inch Switch OLED, which cranks up the screen size a little bit more, which I think is great, but I also think that we are coming up on some of the best with the Steam Deck. The model I have here is the OLED version, which measures in at 7.4 inches compared to the original non-OLED LCD version, which measures in at 7 inches. A perfect size in my opinion. When I finally sit down to play video games, I pull out my deck about 90% of the time. My desktop is just feeling extremely neglected at this point. The absolutely amazing thing about this screen is that yes, you can absolutely play some retro games on this thing and it's going to feel great, but 15 seconds later you can be booting up Red Dead Redemption 2 and just have an absolutely amazing next-gen experience. I do believe Valve struck gold with the dimensions and performance profile of the Steam Deck, creating an all-around top-notch experience at home or on the go. This 7.4-inch screen is great, but I do think it's lacking in one area, and that's the resolution. I really hope the Steam Deck 2 comes with a 1920 by 1080 screen, but for modern chipsets, the 720p makes a lot of sense. Now we move into the chonk zone, and to be honest, the chonk zone is a very, very special place. Let's take a look at the 8.8-inch monster, the Lenovo Legion Go. Here is where I think we are reaching the top end of what a handheld should ever be. There are currently some bigger handhelds out there like the One X Player X1, which I hope to get my hands on one day, but at this point we are really pushing the limits of what can be considered handheld. Now my opinion of this screen is that it's fantastic. The 8.8-inch 1600p screen provides an immersive experience that not even the Steam Deck can really hold a candle to. Turn on the lights, put on some headphones, and the Lego, as I like to call it, becomes a near big screen TV experience. Now some folks complain that the Lego is too big, and I totally get that, but for me, a person with large hands, this is just a great experience, if not a little bit of overkill. Now we come to the final verdict, and I am going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to divide the ranking into two different categories, Pocketable versus Backpackable. For Pocketable, I'm going to go with the 3.5-inch displays, which is found on the Mio Mini Plus, the RG35XX series, and many other modern emulation handhelds. The balance of pocketability and screen size is just perfect. I have spent hundreds of hours on the Mio Mini Plus and RG35 series and have nothing but good things to say about this size and form factor. For my money, I'm still taking the Mio Mini Plus as my daily driver. And for the backpackable category, I am going to go with the 7.4-inch Steam Deck OLED, with one caveat. If you have big hands like me, this pick is interchangeable with the Lenovo Legion Go. The Steam Deck is the perfect size for most people. It sits snugly in the Goldilocks zone of not too small, not too big. The ability to enjoy nearly every modern game, as well as pretty much all retro consoles, makes this screen size just perfect. Well, there you have it, my picks for the best handheld screen sizes. If you have any questions or comments, make sure to leave them below. If you got something out of this video or you liked it, please leave a like. I would really appreciate that. If you want more content like this, hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for watching today. Have a good one.